if you are trying to cook pasta, you need to know certain things and which massive mistakes that so many people are making that you want to avoid. So if you've been on social media lately, you might have seen some of these things, and hopefully I'm going to help you by breaking down the mistakes to avoid, 4 things that you do not want to do if you are making a pasta. And I'm telling you, the last one is unfathomable. You will see what I mean. If you're new here or you've been here before, hey there, I'm Dr. Anna. I'm a medical doctor. I was trained in Italy, in the heart of the Mediterranean region, in the land of pasta in abundance. And I am here to tell you that I am very passionate about food, nutrition, and pasta, but I want to set you up for success, okay? So that you're making pasta the right way. So I'll tell you a story. When I first moved to Italy, which was about 6 years ago, I was coming in from a background of having a nutrition degree and all these preconceived ideas about pasta being bad for us, causing high blood sugar, diabetes, obesity, and then I showed up. And I looked around in Italy and almost nobody was overweight. And as I spent some more months there and then years, I'm realizing people eat pasta every day. I'm not kidding, every day. Lunch, sometimes, and dinner, believe it or not, and they're not overweight. And how is this possible? This doesn't make any sense. Everything I've been studying, I have a degree in nutrition, and we learned it's a high glycemic index food, and also thinking like a scientist, and I am making an observation, and my information was wrong. My story had a hole in it. Something wasn't fitting together. So I leaned in. It started to become really clear that for Americans, pasta is something we associate with obesity, overweight, being very full, because the way we make pasta in this country is completely different than the way pasta is being eaten in Italy daily. Mistake number 1 is preparing your pasta swimming in the oiliest, cheesiest, meatiest sauce that you can't even see the bottom of the bowl. Most of the bowl is just sauce. Where's the pasta? The equation is completely flipped in Italy. People are eating pasta where it's mostly the pasta and then the sauce is just kind of sticking to the pasta itself. It's not swimming in oil at the bottom. One of the most beautiful things is having a fresh ragu from Bologna or Modena, one of those cities in Emilia-Romagna, the best food region of Italy in my opinion. And the ragu, the meat sauce, just sticks to the pasta and it's like this symphony of flavors in your mouth and you can't believe how good it is. But it's so not that heavy. Like, it's not that oily, it's not wet, it's not dripping. That is something to pay attention to. In Italy, we mix the sauce into the pasta in the pot before you serve it. It's not this dry heap of spaghetti and then a separate big chunky wet heap of sauce on top and then you hand that over to somebody. That would not be considered a pasta in Italy. They would never serve that to you. So if you've already learned something new, I want you to subscribe to this channel so that you can avoid all the mistakes and make sure you're eating the best, highest quality, most delicious and nutritious Mediterranean diet foods that there are. Okay, massive mistake number 2 to avoid is not measuring your pasta before you prepare it. What? Okay, let me break this down. The way we eat pasta in this country is this like huge, massive portion. But the way pasta is eaten in Italy is often a first course. So it's called a primo, the first dish. Usually a dinner or even a lunch, depending on the setting, are dishes that come out in sequence. So you have the antipasto or the appetizer. Often it's like a little bite that's shared, something small. And then you have your primo course, your first course, and it's often a pasta. And lo and behold, it's actually not a huge volume. It's not a huge portion because after you finish your first course, you're gonna have your second course, the secondo, and that's going to have your protein, your fish or your meat and a vegetable, maybe some side dishes called contorni, right? So the way that we think of pasta is always this massive volume of pasta, massive amounts, and that's just not the way it's eaten there. Something that I learned after spending a lot of time in Italy when I finally spent time in my friends' houses with their families is that before they're going to go cook their pasta, before they even boil it, they measure the weight of what they want. Of course, everything there is in the metric system in grams. So they say, how many grams do you want? And in advance, you know in your mind, I'm kind of hungry, but not that hungry. I guess I only want 85 grams. But if you're really hungry, you might say, ooh, I want 130 grams, 150, whatever it is. So they actually plan in advance how much they're gonna eat before they even start cooking it. We tend not to do that in this country. We make huge batches of things, huge volumes, so that we can take seconds or thirds easily. And that portion control becomes impossible when you have so much food right in front of your face. So they make it easier for themselves. They do the portion control before they even prepare the food so that when they're done, they're just done. Okay, massive mistake number 3 is something that I'm actually really guilty of, and I have to confess, this was a very embarrassing thing for me, but I'll tell you this story. I was in Italy, and I had been living there now almost 3 years, and I finally was like really feeling Italian. I was eating pasta almost every day. I was like, yeah, I got this, I can do it. And I had some friends over for dinner, my Italian friends. This is a very bold move, mind you. I said, I'm gonna cook. Me, the American, cooking for the Italians, very risky. But I went for it. I started cooking the pasta, and one of my friends, she came over to the stove. She was kind of watching me over my shoulder, and she just looks at me and she goes, what are you doing? And I was like a deer in headlights, like, oh my God, what did I do? What was wrong? And I did what my parents had always taught me to do. I start boiling the water, and then I put a little, like a schlug, like just a little splash of olive oil on top of the water before I pour the pasta into the boiling water. And my friend looked at me and she's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm putting a splash of olive oil in the water. She's like, why would you do that? I said, with all this confidence, so it doesn't stick. And she says to me, like, where did you learn that? She said, that makes no sense. Oil and water separate. So why would the oil even touch the pasta? The pasta's in the water. I felt so stupid because that's so obvious. Like, I've studied chemistry, I'm a doctor, I know this, but it didn't occur to me. I was just doing what people around me had always done. My parents taught me to do this. How did we know? Just water, guys. Water and salt. That's it, no oil. Are you ready for massive pasta mistake number 4 that is like a heinous crime? It is something that unfortunately I'm seeing on social media all the time. And Patty and Patty, if you're watching this somehow, you're gonna know what I'm talking about because you've made a lot of videos complaining and kvetching over the exact same thing. So people, you have to boil pasta to cook it. You cannot just put raw pasta into dishes. You can't put raw pasta that's never been boiled into a dish, smother it in sauce, smother it in meat, smother it in cheese, and bake it. Like, what? Pasta needs to be boiled. It's like eating raw rice, like hard. I don't even know how that would taste. But this also came to my attention when my darling sister, and this was years before I lived in Italy, she started cooking dinner for me, and she said, oh, I'll make ravioli. We didn't make it by scratch. We bought it at the grocery store. She takes the ravioli in the package and right from the fridge opens the package up, puts it in the pan, adds the oil, and starts heating it up. And I was like, hey, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm making ravioli. And this was kind of an innocent mistake on her part because often ravioli is prepared in a pan with oil or butter right before it's served. But you guys, ravioli is boiled first. You have to cook the pasta. So please cook your pasta. Don't be that person that is preparing raw pasta. Heaven forbid you're preparing that for someone else to eat as well. You guys gotta cook it. You gotta boil it in water. You can't skip that step. If you guys are learning something today, if you're finding value, please subscribe to my channel. I wanna keep you all safe and sound in eating the Mediterranean diet the way it's meant to be eaten. Now, I gotta ask, don't be shy. Which of these things are you guilty of? Put it in the comments below. I'm guilty, I told you. Number 3, I did that, oil in the water. So don't be shy, share with us. We would love to help each other out. Let's make this community a vibrant place where people are enjoying the pasta that they deserve. Share it with somebody who deserves to have this knowledge bestowed upon them. Give it to somebody else, a loved one, a friend, a neighbor, and make sure that you do not wreak havoc on your community by not preparing your pasta in the way it's meant to be prepared. But if you do know that you're kind of into this food and you're like, Mediterranean diet, I like that, I want to learn more about that, well, I have some other great videos for you. You can make a salad with me here, and then there's a bonus in that where I break down all of the nutrition, or I'll tell you the top 5 foods that you should eat if you want to start eating a Mediterranean diet approach now. They're easy. You can do this starting tomorrow, and it's not even expensive. Go ahead, I'll see you in that video.